Welcome to the Canadian Marketing Association's B2B Council podcast. Your hosts, Eric Tang from Front Street Partners and Mark Cooper from Junction 59, bring you timely conversations with council members and industry experts for Canada's B2B marketing community. This podcast is produced by Jordan Taylor from Starta. Now, let's dive into today's conversation.
Hello, and welcome to the Canadian Marketing Association Business to Business Council podcast. I'm your host, Eric Tang, president of Front Street Partners, a B2B brand and communications firm in Toronto. Today is the first episode of our podcast series, and we have the pleasure of talking to Dave Burnett, CEO of AOK Marketing. Dave focuses on AI-driven SEO, paid media, and generative engine optimization, GEO, helping brands show up accurately in search results, AI answers, and assistant-style tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, and Perplexity. To kickstart the new year and our new podcast, in this episode, we will explore with Dave some of the emerging trends in B2B marketing driven by Generative AI, or GenAI for short. We will explore the implications of these trends to marketers, corporations, and their clients. And we want Dave to offer us some practical tips we can use right away. So let's begin. Welcome, Dave, to the CMA B2B Council podcast, and thank you for being our first guest.
Thanks for having me, Eric. I really appreciate it. It's going to be a fun one. So hopefully we won't use too many big words or anything, but hopefully people get a little something from this.
Absolutely. Now, you are an expert in GEO, among other things, and GEO stands for Generative Engine Optimization. For listeners who may not know the term, what exactly is GEO and why will it matter so much in 2026 and beyond?
Well, GEO, or Generative Engine Optimization, is really the new SEO. When you think about it, a lot of people are going online now to ask ChatGPT or Gemini, or even just into Google and asking different types of questions, and they'll show up, they'll get an AI answer sent to them. So that is what the generative in Generative Engine Optimization is. We want to get found when the machine, whichever machine it is, ChatGPT or Google, recommends something. So if you put something in there as a question or a prompt, you want to get recommended. So that's what we do. That's what we try and help people do. And that's important for 2026 and beyond, because really that's the way things are going. I don't know about you, but it's really helpful. And I don't click on nearly as much stuff as I used to. I didn't have to go through the 37 different blue links. I now get my answers even before I move on. So that's where we see things going.
Yeah, absolutely. We are seeing, the changing habits of search, definitely in businesses and also amongst, just the general public. So Dave, given what we just talked about, I have two important follow-up questions for you. Number one, what will be the main shift in GenAI in 2026 that will have lasting impact in the next 12 to 24 months? And number two, how should B2B marketers think about how customers and prospects find and engage with their brands in this new GEO world?
Well, for me, one of the main things is that people don't really understand how the machines work. So a real short description associated with how these machine works is, you can think of it like a high school grad. The machines are basically trained with so much information up until, say, for example, you graduated from high school. You have so much math knowledge, so much science, so much history, all those different types of things. These generative engines are the exact same way. And that's why they're, ChatGPT 3 or 4 or 5 or 5.2. Those are different training cutoff dates for these machines. And then what happens is the large language model companies like OpenAI or Google, they teach the machines to be nice and answer nicely. So that whole process there of putting a bunch of information into the memory and then the machine owners teaching them to be nice usually takes between 12 and 18 months. So if you are crawled and then put into the machine's knowledge base, and then you can get surfaced in answers, that's kind of the overall objective. Now, what people don't realize is when they ask a question of an AI model, it does one of two things. Either it retrieves information from its core knowledge, which is that training data I just talked about, or it goes out into the internet and searches. And then that's search grounded AI responses that are generated. So think about that same high school student. If that person, that high school student was asked something that it didn't know, it could go out to the internet, find the information, come back and tell you that information in its own words. That's basically what the models do. And that's called retrieval augmented generation, or RAG. So when you're asking a model a question, you don't necessarily know unless it says kind of like thinking or going to the internet or checking different websites. You don't know if it's pulling information from the core knowledge or from search. And why this is so important is because if it's been trained incorrectly, say there's some information out there on the internet when the crawlers were teaching the models to learn and to think, if it was taught some information incorrectly, that's what it has in its core knowledge. And it's a lot cheaper and faster for the large language model companies to just retrieve information from its brain. Like, think about how much easier it is just for you to answer a question versus me answering a question versus going out to the internet, finding it, compiling it, coming back, and then answering the question. So it's very, very important for you to have the right type of information out there on the internet that's accurate, and that is going to last beyond the next 12, 24, 16, 18, however many months. You need to have accurate information out there for the machines to find and for you to get surfaced. So that's the important thing that I don't think is going to change, at least.
Wow. So as someone who have been working with clients, promoting and protecting their brands, throughout my career, and like you, we are all combating misinformation and disinformation. And what you just described really resonates with me, and I'm sure with a lot of corporations out there. And that leads me to another thing, and that is, even despite the changes on the technical side, on the search side, what are some of the fundamentals that we should remind ourselves as marketers really not to lose sight of, in this sea change, having the correct information out there is one thing, having the discipline and the strategy to correct any information out there is another thing. But what else? What are some of the fundamental marketing principles you think would be really, really important in this context?
Well, really, one of the really important things is to state the facts and tell the truth. not that marketing people would ever exaggerate or change
Right.
things or phrase things in different ways. So stating the facts and telling the truth is really important. And that's because the models don't know who to trust, and lots of people out there are trying to manipulate the models. SEO people are trying to game the system and do different things. So the models right now are really in an early stage where they take most things at their face value. But what they're doing is they being the large language model companies, ChatGPTs of the world, OpenAI, they're starting to make sure that the information that they bring forward is accurate. So the more accurate you can make it and the more interrelated in terms of facts you can make it, the better. So there's something called a knowledge graph. I mean, if you've ever gone online and looked at like a Starbucks page, like if you just type in Starbucks into Google, you'll see a bunch of different results. And on the right hand side, there's a bunch of information. There's usually some pictures, there's links, there's people also ask all this kind of stuff. That is actually called a knowledge panel. And what that is interrelated facts about that particular entity, the entity being Starbucks. So what you want to do is make sure that you state the facts, tell the truth, and then tell the machine that this is actually true. Like Dave Burnett, founder of AOK Marketing, lives in Toronto, right? State the facts, tell the truth. AOK Marketing has an office in Toronto and an office in New York. Those are the stating facts and telling the truth, right? Now, this is very important because what'll happen is if on your website, for example, you link to Toronto because that's where I'm based, or you link to New York because that's where I'm based, the machine will understand that, okay, New York is this particular place and this is an office that AOK Marketing has there. So it will start to realize that and identify that. So for the marketers out there in the world, it really is state the facts, tell the truth, and reinforce that truth, and then machines will trust you more, and therefore you'll surface more. It's kind of I know it's supposed to sound really complicated, and a lot of SEO people really try to make it sound complicated, but it's really quite simple. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, if you are, everybody's got competition. So if you are saying something like, AOK Marketing is the best generative engine optimization company in the world, right? Or it's the best generative engine optimization company in Toronto. The machines will look for references to that, other third-party references to that. Did anybody else anywhere actually say that about AOK Marketing? It's really, really important to understand that when you're linking your facts, that's true, but also when you're generating things about your company, whether it's through AI or something else, I always ask my clients, what are you doing that's unique and cool? Because that's what's really going to separate you. Everybody who is a generative engine optimization or SEO company, they basically will say the same things as every other company. But what they can't say are things that we've done for clients. Like, for example, I posted an article about how to get found in AI search. And then I posted a follow-up article that was how to get found in AI search in 24 hours and built a case study around it because we were actually able to get people found in within 24 hours. So that's stuff that we did that's unique to us that nobody else can say because they didn't run that particular case study. We also helped, Encyclopedia Britannica go from 340 million page views a month to 510 million page views a month. Nobody else can say that about us. So, for example, Front Street Partners, right? You have unique experience associated with your previous experience, what you're doing now for people, and how you're moving forward. So it's important for you to establish with the large language models what a company is like that you do. So it's important to have that base layer for the models to understand, okay, I put Front Street Partners in this particular place with these other great competitors. But it's also important to talk about what you've done that's unique to you, because then nobody else can talk about that. And that's why case studies and referrals and all those kinds of things are super important as well. So those are kind of the major points that I would touch on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this. I want to unpack it a bit because there's a lot of good stuff in here. Let's go back to your first point, tell the truth, state the fact and tell the truth. Yes, on the surface, it's absolutely important to do. In reality, typically, a lot of clients, including mine, have these challenges. Number one is we can't stop people from saying whatever they want to say on whatever platform. And unfortunately, at this early stage or at this point in time, these search engines don't necessarily differentiate. They find things on Reddit, they find things on any sources, and especially in these forums, people can say whatever they want. So in those situations, how should marketers, think about correcting or at least, play down, the presence of that kind of information? That's one. And then number two is there are sites that are more formal, such as Wikipedia, that would require you to go through a very rigorous process and write so to change anything that's already published on a wiki page. So with that in mind, what are your thoughts on in that aspect of stating the truth and, stating the fact and telling the truth?
Yeah, I mean, people are going to make stuff up. What you can do to offset that, number one, which PR has been doing for years and years, is you make more noise about good things, right? You win an award, you get published, you get recognized. Those are all great things. I mean, the way I think about it is with interrelated facts, right? What are the facts that are happening? So if somebody says, hey, I had this bad experience with whatever brand, okay, they may have had a bad experience. They may actually be, but you don't necessarily want that coming to the top of the search engine results or being recommended that way in one of these large language models. So the way to offset that, think about it from a knowledge graph perspective. You have a central node that is your brand, and you have these interrelated facts coming into that brand. So what you can do is create more nodes that you won an award for being the best agency or something like that, or you did something else. So reinforcing through the knowledge graph. So making sure that your information is linked correctly in structured data. And I don't want to bore people too much, but there's something called schema markup. And no, it's not, you can't catch it. It's not contagious. Schema is, it's not a disease. Schema markup basically is information that tells the machine what relates to what. So you want to make sure that you've got the right kind of structured data on your website that says, yes, this is me. Like this is my company, here is our LinkedIn page, here is our location, here is information where I published information that, like, I'm an author on this website, those types of things. And when you have your main brand doing that, and then you have a strong, for example, about us page, and you have another strong services page, and then you have a strong, leadership. So you have your CEO and your senior executives that all have linked information, and they're all linking to the same thing. They build a really good story that the AI models can reference. So in terms of different crisis, getting links, and there's a number of different things that you can do to try and offset how you're perceived. And then going to Wikipedia and other things like that. Like, Wikipedia is really about notability. How notable are you? If, for example, you're Elon Musk or Donald Trump or Justin Trudeau or any of the other people you may love or hate, whatever it may be, then you have enough information about you and what you've done, and that makes you notable. And so to get a Wikipedia page, you have to have articles talking about you and what you've done. And so if you just comment on somebody else's blog post, or even if you get quoted in something like New York Times or some of the great media outlets, that's just not enough. You need to actually be notable, so people have to write about you. Independent, verifiable third-party people need to actually write articles about you, and that makes you notable enough to potentially then get a Wikipedia page. And Wikipedia itself has a wonderful community of editors. They're very protective of Wikipedia. They want to make sure that only valuable, notable things are actually input into Wikipedia. So there's very specific protocols. You have to put up information in advance, then ideally have the Wikipedia editors create the page for you, and a bunch of other things. So don't just go and put up a page about yourself or your company. That's a quick way to get, banned or, your page deleted. So there's a number of different things, but having independently verifiable third-party resources is a big part of success on that side.
I absolutely can support everything you just said. and that is definitely aligned with, some of the best practices. Now, let's change gear a little bit. Now that we know, okay, marketers still know a lot. We still have a lot of skills and experiences we can reference despite, these new changes. How do we know that, whether it's the brand we serve or the company we work with, that we are collectively ready for taking advantage of GEO? What are some of the aspects that we need to examine, whether it's the team, whether it's the technology, the knowledge level, etc. So help us break it down.
Yeah, I mean, GEO is really an extension or a merger between a couple different things that already exist. So SEO being one part of it. So traditional SEO is basically made up of technical SEO, how your website works. It's made of the content that you have on your website. And then it's also made up of the backlinks. So other websites backlinking to you, that's kind of traditional SEO, right? You want to get a page to rank. So that, again, that using that Starbucks reference, if you typed in Starbucks, you get the main page. You type in Starbucks near me, you'll get you'll get a map and a few locations. But if you type in Starbucks Frappuccino, it will show you the Frappuccino page, right? So the question is, what's your Frappuccino page and how do you get that ranked, right? That's traditional SEO. GEO is a lot more to do with PR. We touch base on this and your entity's authority as opposed to your page's authority. You want to get your entity, your brand, or your company to rank as opposed to just a particular page. So with your entity authority, you need to have those same things, but you need to, which is your technical SEO, your content, and your backlinks. But you also need to have style. What's your style that you've got in terms of how are you putting content out there? If you're a highly technical company and you're using big, giant words, the large language models may have more trouble with that. But you also need to have things like a knowledge graph, which I talked about. Wikipedia is great. You want to be able to have those backlinks that I talked about. And you also want to potentially have directory listings that are consistent everywhere. Making sure that your brand is consistent across the internet is super important, because then the machines know they can trust you. So from a team perspective, which was kind of the origination of your question, making sure that you've got good technical foundations on the SEO side, some kind of backlink strategy, and then making sure that you've got good PR strategy. Those two things mixed together will get you most of the way to GEO. So that's what people may not realize, is that it's kind of the merger, the blend between these two traditional functions that happen on the marketing side. So if you have a good PR team, good SEO team, you should be good to go.
That's so important, because that just also reinforces, some of the conversations we all have is, let's break down the silo. Let's really make sure all the various marketing disciplines work with each other, talk to each other, and coordinate our efforts more and better. And what you just said, completely illustrates the importance of that collaboration. And what about, okay, now that the marketing team is really, solid now, we feel good, we have a strategy, an overarching marketing strategy, really strong SEO, approach. Dave Burnett, AKO Marketing's come to our rescue. Now, how are we going to approach that, with the C-suite? Because they only care about one thing. They care about the ROI. How are we going to convince them to really invest in this effort in the GEO strategy of 2026 and beyond?
Well, it's just a question of the success that we've had has just been, okay, so how often do you search on Google versus how often do you search on ChatGPT or one of the other large language models? And have you ever seen an OpenAI, like an either OpenAI or an AI overview answer? Have you ever looked at those AI answers and not clicked? Yeah. Have you ever done that for yourself? This is a great thing too. Is like, have you ever kind of Googled yourself or chat GPT'd yourself? And then wouldn't it be nice to show up in a way that you want to show up in that? So when we're talking to the C-suite, it's all about real life applications. How do you show up? How do you not show up? And this is the way everything is going into this, no click world, into this, your answer is given to you. And then it comes down to, okay, what type of queries do we want to show up for? So right now, what's happened is these chatbots and AI overviews are basically taking a lot of the informational queries and just answering them right in the chat there. So there's other types of queries though. There's navigational queries, like I want to find the closest Starbucks to me, which it isn't as good at because it doesn't necessarily know where you are. There's other things like commercial, which is kind of, what's the best, what's the best B2B SEO company in Toronto, those types of things it's starting to take over. But then there's also commercials, like recommend me the best running shoes for this, particular season that we have here in Toronto. So depending on what type of query you put in and what type of query you want to be found for can determine which strategy you want. Do you want to be found in AI? Do you want to be found in traditional Google? And either way, the way the machines are evolving, they're going to answer for you everything eventually. So this is really an important thing. So the C-suite has to get on board because this is the way things are moving.
Now, if I could just do a follow-up question on that one. Everything agrees, makes sense. Are there nuances in the B2B world, though? Are there nuances in the B2B world that we should think slightly either differently or just double click on what you just said? Meaning most buyers, in the B2B world are not going to key in best marketer in Toronto and look for those options, not like we're buying running shoes. So if that's not the case, what are some of the further nuances we need to think about in terms of demonstrating ROI and the steps leading to ROI?
Well, with everything, measurement's really important. So you need to be able to understand where you are today. So identifying whoever your ideal customer profile is, your ICP, then once you identify your ideal customer profile, figuring out and using ChatGPT or the others to figure out, okay, what kind of questions would these people ask that relates like that I'm the answer to, right? Kind of reverse engineer. And then once you figure out what those important questions are, so say you're a B2B marketer and you want to be found, say, I don't know, you're a Purelator and you want to market your parcel delivery service and warehousing and fulfillment or whatever it is to B2B companies. And you're up against UPS and you're up against FedEx and you're up against these other guys. So how do you stand out? So you want to make sure you understand what those procurement people, like who is buying from you. Is it procurement? Is it operations? Is it admin? Who it is? Then you want to figure out what they would ask. And then you take those questions that they would ask and put them into an AI visibility tool. So we actually built one called Limtel. It's llmtel.com. And you can go there and you can put your brand in, and then you can ask some of those questions. And what it'll do is it'll give you a baseline report. Okay, we are looking at 17 different large language models, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, all these different ones. Like, okay, do I show up in the answer? And then is the information accurate or is it not accurate from earlier on? Remember, it may have the wrong information in its core knowledge. Am I found in search? Am I found in the base knowledge? So measuring where you're starting from is very, very important. And then once you get where you're starting from, you say, okay, what do we have to do to tweak these levers to try and move things forward? And that might be something as simple as generating a piece of content. It might be something as simple as updating the schema on your website, the structured data. It might be something as simple as getting a PR piece that talks about how Purelator is the best, local delivery service, Canadian owned, or whatever you wanted to do, and wherever you were trying to position, and then understanding that the machines read the internet, so therefore you need to have content related to the answer you want to show up in to be shown. So understanding the fundamentals and understanding what people are looking for is really important going forward. So that's what you need to do.
Absolutely. Now, so we've talked about, my takeaway so far from this conversation is geo is definitely important because that's how people are looking for information. Understanding how people are going to ask questions online will help inform you think about how you want to show up. That's another layer. The traditional SEO disciplines and the rigor and all the requirements in place will continue to be important, if not even more important. And then public relations, PR, or earned recognition, whether it's in the media and other formats, will actually help elevate your presence. So there are a lot of layers, to the geo success is what I'm trying to get to. And does that mean GEOs are really better served, for big brands, or can small companies take advantage of this new horizon as well?
I think it actually right now is an opportunity. Whenever there's a new platform or a new channel, small players have an opportunity to capitalize because they can be nimble, because they can actually react quickly. And then what we found, I've been around, I've been doing this a little while, and what happens eventually is then the large companies buy a lot of media, and for some reason things change and they start showing up better. Who knows why that happens, but it's what happens when a lot of money gets thrown at things. And so right now is a great opportunity for the best answer to particular searches to show up. That doesn't matter how large you are. But with tools like Limtel and others, you can figure out where the citations, like where the websites that are referencing you or your competitors are showing up in the search results. So you can be like, okay, if I asked for, give me the 10 best marketing agencies in Toronto, it will show you half a dozen or a dozen links in the answers saying, okay, this original piece on the internet said that these were the top 10 companies, and they're mentioned over and over again, and therefore that is something that you might want to reach out to that particular top 10 list and be like, hey, we're great too. We would love to be included in your next list, or how do we get onto your existing list, or those kinds of things, so that you get involved in the answers. Because going back to how facts are interrelated, if there's that top 10 list and all of a sudden you're quoted as one of the top 10 amidst all of your greatest competitors, whether they're large or small, all of a sudden the machine's like, hey, I got to include these guys in the conversation because they're in the conversation over here. So that's one way that you can use this, but there's a lot of different layers, a lot of different things you can do, but understanding where you start from is kind of the most important.
Absolutely. Now, I can keep going on and on because this is such an important topic. But before we let you go, we promised our listeners practical tips. So what are the 3 things that B2B marketers must do in the next 3 months to set themselves up for GEO success?
So the first thing that they need to do is what I would call a brand fact book. You need to have something created where everything that you talk about in relationship to your brand is the same. Your address, your name, address, phone number is the same. Your your brand name is referenced the same way, right? Like even just AOK Marketing, we could be AOK, we could be AOK Marketing Group, we could be, AOKmarketing.com. However you are referenced has to be the same everywhere. Is your logo the same everywhere? Is it referenced the same? Is it actually on your website called, AOK Marketing logo or, Front Street Partners logo? So you need to create a brand facts book, because then once the machines understand, okay, this is your facts, these are what are important, then that's what you need. And so the second part of that is, once you have your fact book built, you need to have your source of truth on the internet. So that's your about us page is super important. Making sure that you have a robust about us page, including, as I mentioned earlier, your CEO and your executive team and all the different things. But along with that, you need to have a robust services page if you could provide services, or products page if you do products. So basically making sure that you have a single source of truth that all the machines can reference, and that you can reference from other places, because then that way, if you get somebody on Reddit who is saying some incorrect things, the machine will know, okay, this is the actual source of truth. These are the actual facts. Here are the actual reviews that are associated with that. So that's kind of the second thing. And then the third thing that you really need to do is to understand that traditional SEO is still important, and you need to actually make sure and talk to your website people and make sure that your structural SEO is done, and that you aren't misleading the machines by just having sloppy website structure, by having different things that are important for the machines. Like, you can think about it as kind of a second layer. You have one layer of marketing fluff, pardon me. We have one layer of marketing, wonderful marketing pros and beautiful pictures and all this kind of stuff. You have one layer for the people. You need to make sure your layer for the machines, which, instead of making it sort through all the fluff, is very specific about what you do, how you do it, and then where you belong in terms of out there on the internet. So creating a layer for the machines and a layer for people is important. So those are the three things that I would recommend: a brand facts book, making sure you have a source of truth that can be quoted everywhere, and then making sure that your technical SEO, the machines can actually understand and read what your website's about.
Amazing. Now, I always like to ask our guests this one last question. Anything else we haven't touched on that you absolutely think our audiences should know?
Everybody just has to get comfortable with the change that's here. People have different adoption rates when it comes to AI. People go through this AI adoption curve, I like to think of it. They kind of start off scared, or they're afraid for their job, or whatever it might be. And then they tend to go through this skeptical phase where they're like, okay, well, it's not really that good. I don't know what all the hype is about. And then they have a light bulb moment. And that light bulb moment, I find really kind of happens. And then they start to investigate. Like, all of a sudden, oh my gosh, this is actually really good. And then they start to adopt, and then they get to mastery associated with whatever AI tool or whatever they're doing. And the faster you can get through that cycle, the better. The faster your people can get through that cycle, the better. So communicating with your people and marketers, just understanding that these are tools that you can use, but these tools are really kind of changing the landscape as we speak. So getting over your fear, getting over your skepticism, understand how to use these tools, investigate them, and then adopt them. And that's the only other important thing. Whether we're talking about GEO, whether we're talking about SEO, whether we're talking about anything just AI related, you need to get on board, because it's changing, and it's changing right now.
Well, thank you so much, Dave, again, for your time. It's been such an informative conversation. I still have a lot of questions for you, and I'm sure our audiences do. And so if we want to follow up with you, what's the best way to find you?
Yeah, find me on LinkedIn. That's the best way. So just Dave Burnett, and you should be able to find me. Dave Burnett, AOK Marketing. You should be able to find me there. But yeah, other than that, I post the occasional thing on X, but that's where I really find out all my information about what's going on with AI. Like, I was just discovered today that apparently X.com and X.AI, they are actually open sourcing their algorithm. So if you're technical at all, you can actually reverse engineer how they are recommending things. So anyways, it's fascinating times, but yeah, that's where you can find me, LinkedIn mostly, or at aokmarketing.com.
Well, that sounds like a separate podcast topic for us in the future, along with aligning that with issues management. that might actually be something we can explore together again. Well, that's all for today. Thank you again, Dave. And that's all for today from our CMA B2B Council podcast with our guest, Dave Burnett, CEO of AOK Marketing. I'm your host, Eric Tang, President of Front Street Partners. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for joining us on the Canadian Marketing Association's B2B Council podcast. We hope you found today's conversation insightful and valuable. This podcast is produced by Jordan Taylor from Starta in cooperation with the Canadian Marketing Association.